Hey guys, Mike here with the 95 East Barbell Club and CrossFit Goldsboro podcast. I got the owner of CrossFit Burn, Steve Jasset, with me. I'm going to let him introduce himself here in just a second. But this is literally the weekend after he just got done going to the Arnold Sports Festival in California. He literally got to stay a night at Arnold's house, but I don't want to steal all that from him. I'm going to let him tell his story. He just came third place, strongest firefighter in the world. Incredible experience. We're going to ask him, anything from his training, his story, who he is, what his week to week looks like, what he does for training, his warm up, his cool down protocols, what he might take for supplementation, and then any advice for anyone that's looking to get into strength training or that's looking to get into a fitness program like CrossFit, Goldsboro, CrossFit Burn, anything like that. So hopefully we'll drop a couple nuggets here in the next 15, 20 minutes so you guys have something to take away from it. You're probably just like me. I like to listen to podcasts, throw it in on my car, listen to something 15, 20 minutes. But let me get out of the way. And Steve, I'll let you introduce yourself, man. Who you are, what's your story, what you're all about, man.
Cool. Steve Jasset. I own CrossFit Burn in New Bern. We're going on 8 years now. Before that, I was in the Marine Corps. Did 4 years active duty, 12 years in the reserves. I was a diesel mechanic for a while. I was military police for a little while. I worked in logistics for a while. And then I just kind of promoted myself out of a job.
Holy cow.
I'm originally from Boston. I got a wife, 2 little kids. Been into sports my whole life, wrestled and did football in high school. Did some non-competitive type of bodybuilding, powerlifting when I was in the Marine Corps.
Cool,
the
cool.
old knucklehead in the gym, just slinging weights with my buddies.
That's great.
And then I was also in charge of training Marines while I was in the Marine Corps, so that's what got me into training people for fitness. Was a ACE peer fitness trainer, a HIIT instructor for the Marine Corps. Let me see what else I've done.
I was ACE certified as well.
Yeah, that's about where it started.
A decade or two ago.
Yeah, I got certified. Well, not certified, but I went to my level 1 in 2011, 2012, something like that.
Wow.
We started out just doing working for a nonprofit affiliate on Cherry Point.
Okay.
CrossFit Cherry Point. That's where I got started in CrossFit coaching. Before that, me and Nick that owned Reclaim Glory flags.
Yeah.
Me and him started doing CrossFit at the firehouse. We had a 30-pound slam ball, some steel weights, and we would just throw down, man, every day.
Man,
And it was awesome.
That story right there, Steve, is what people need to hear, man.
Yep.
I always ask people, why, CrossFit Goldsboro, why CrossFit Burn, and your story, is a part of that. Hey, how you guys started, what you've done to get to that point, what sacrifices that you have made, and that right there, man. I'm pretty sure people are going to hit the replay button so they can hear, holy crap, this guy did 12 years reservist, was in the Marine Corps, was training Marines, didn't even start out with CrossFit, was, a football player and wrestler, and it was just, ACE certified trainer at one point,
Yep.
and turned into this. Awesome, man.
Yep.
See you in the morning. Sweet. And, to see where CrossFit Burn has started and where it's grown. And then you were at CrossFit Wilmington training with Tony at some point, right?
So we'd go out there. Tony would come to us at Cherry Point or to my gym, and he'd do little classes and seminars for us. I learned a lot of stuff from Tony, just from afar. Awesome. I'd read his articles every day. We'd talk. I'd go down there. We'd compete in the competitions. I'd go to his seminars he'd do for supplements. And some of the best tips I ever learned were from a deadlift seminar he did one day with Will Kunzel from was he from South Carolina? Yeah,
one of the strongest.
That dude's an animal.
Strongest guys around for sure. Because I ran into you at Tony's place, man, I think Tony started in 2008, so I was going down there on the weekends in 2009. I felt like we definitely competed against each other, but we probably were at some of those same seminars and fitness things, doing that stuff together, going from Camp Lejeune down to Wilmington, and I know there was a year or two he got deployed and stuff like that. So really, really cool stuff, man. But, fast track 12 years, that was 12 years ago kind of thing. So.
Yeah, one of the first seminars I went to was a goal setting seminar in Myrtle Beach with Greg Amundsen.
Goal setting. I remember that, man. That's I don't think that's a thing anymore with the CrossFit.
It should be.
Yeah, it should be. Greg, He was one of the OGs
Yeah.
of CrossFit, like literally helped get CrossFit to where it is today and put it on the map. But yeah, his goal setting and mentality, seminar, that was one of the best things that they had, and hopefully they'll bring that back as a mental aspect of physical training. Is
it's one thing that's not touched on a lot.
You either have it or you don't,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean. I always tell people, you and me are not therapists,
Right.
We're fitness coaches, folks. You know what I mean. Some of these people need therapists.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
for sure.
Some of the problems that they have when they come into the gym, and we can help with some of that stuff. But I'm glad you brought that up. It was pretty neat. And a lot of people just listen to this and holy crap, CrossFit Burn used to be CrossFit Cherry Point, and you guys were actually on the base for nonprofit. And to see how long Nick has been with you, and incredible friend.
Yeah, since pretty much the beginning. We started out in Kyle's garage in his house, and we were training 12 people at a time, either in his garage or in the cul-de-sac. And got to a point where the homeowners association didn't like that anymore, so we started looking for a building.
That is awesome. And then how much square feet are you guys in now?
6,000.
More than 6,000 square feet. Started from the garage, man.
We're in our pretty much fourth location.
That's freaking neat, man. That is incredible stuff. Well, let's dive into what went into place. Just talk about the event first.
Sure.
How'd you qualify for the circuit?
Pretty neat. I mean, the last time I did strongman was a couple years ago. Did North Carolina Strongest Man, and I followed Strongman Corp, starting strongman for a while. And one day, Kristen sent me the post, said, "Steve, sign up for this." And I was like, "All right." So I sent an application in, had to submit a video, who I am, what department I work for, why I think I'd be a good candidate, and then just resume, best lifts, things like that. And then out of all the submissions, they picked the top 10. Or not the top 10, but the 10 they wanted to see compete,
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to be one of them.
That's great, man. That's an incredible feat. And so, that was probably 5 weeks ago. We found out that you were going.
Yep.
Real quick, we crammed in some strongman lifting to get you ready for that. Your background is being in CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting, and I always tell people, strong is strong.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things. If you're squatting, pulling, and pressing, you can apply that to almost any single sport on planet Earth. I mean, do you need a 500-pound back squat to be great at soccer? No, but hey, you still got to be squatting. For strongman, those things apply. The clean and jerk event, listen to the commentator, listening to you clean and jerk, man, was pretty awesome. He was mind blown. I think the crowd was mind blown. You ended up taking second in that event, right?
Yeah. 2 mistakes cost me first place. I ended up getting 10 reps, but I didn't wait for the down signal. So strongman rules are different, and you don't compete in it on all the time. So I went a little too fast, so they docked me the first 2 reps. So I ended up getting second. But it definitely was my best event.
I call that. I did some jumping jacks with the barbell in my hand before. I did some of those probably last week in class, and it's one of the things. Talking about the down signal, got to wait for that in Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah.
I feel that down signal is a little slower in strongman.
For sure. You need to say, somebody tells you go clean and jerk as many reps you can in 60 seconds. What are you going to do?
You're going as hard and fast as you physically possibly can. So that's really, really neat. And if you haven't got a chance to go watch that video, it's on our Instagram and CrossFit Burns Instagram. It's pretty neat to see you cycle with a log in your hand that quick and that fast. And then the biggest thing is, efficiency with it. It wasn't new to you. And I see a lot of strongman athletes struggle with the axle or the log with the clean. Obviously, being a CrossFitter and Olympic weightlifter, that transfers over really, really well for you guys. And taking weight over your head, that flexibility requirement for that movement, man, is incredible. And that's probably the thing that commentator was so impressed with. Was like, holy crap, this guy's actually doing a push jerk, power jerk to get underneath this log, over your head.
I got lucky enough to have Kristen there to watch me every day and yell at me and tell me when I suck. And
fantastic. That's part of training, man. Some of the best things about training is being around a group and an environment that are like-minded people that are willing to. It takes a team. It's not a one-man show out there. I know you use MAA. There's 6-7 people over in that person's corner. What I mean? So really. Familiar for you for participating in sports and having a team behind you, man. That's really, really cool. What was the what was the other 4 events? I know those, but for the people who are listening.
First event was a log clean and press, 60 seconds at 175. The second event was farmer carry, down and back. I think it was 30 feet, 200 pounds each hand with the Slater farmer carry. Those things are cool.
Yeah, 400 pounds, man. Deadlift picked each time. That's awesome.
Yep. The third one was the sandbag carry to failure at 205 or 210 pound sandbag. And then the last event was deadlift, 60 second for reps, 405 pounds.
Wow. How many reps did you get at the deadlift?
14.
14 at 405 in 60 seconds, guys. That's really, really impressive, Steve. And ended up coming in third place.
Third place overall,
That is neat. Friday night, man, tell us a little bit about what Arnold did for you guys.
So Friday night, so I landed in California, went to the airport that they were hosting everything at, which was right behind the pier. As soon as we got there, we had the rules meeting, and it was all the 13 strongmen and then the 10 firefighters. And we were going over the rules meeting, and so one of the strongman president, I think it's Dion, she's like, all right, so when we go to Arnold House, these are the rules. You need to wear pants, and there's no photos or videos. And I look around and I'm like, wait a minute, are we all going? And they're like, yeah, surprise. So we broke from the meeting, and 2 hours later the Ubers and the vans picked us all up and drove us up there.
Wow. Yeah. That is freaking neat, man.
Yeah, we had no idea.
That is something special. And you got to go to Arnold's house, have dinner on him, a sign of appreciation from him. And, I can say this, probably for us and many, many other people will look up to Arnold Schwarzenegger for what he's done for the fitness community.
I don't think there's a single other person that's changed the sport more than him.
Yeah, and people don't know about Arnold Sports. Check that out on Instagram or on Facebook, or even Google it. His next one is his original one that he does in Columbus, Ohio. That's the first week of March. Yeah. But the Arnold Sports, guys, you can literally go and there's probably 500 sports that take place during that weekend. Strongman, Olympic weightlifting, CrossFit events, Spartans, marathon running. You can go the whole way down. Fencing, wrestling, boxing, you name it. If it's a sport, if there's actually a judge that's involved, it'll be at this competition. So if you don't know 100% sure what that is, go check that out. Always, people are talking about the CrossFit games or so-and-so event, this, that, the other. That is just a small, tiny piece of the fitness industry and what really goes on. And to be a part of that and be able to go to Arnold's house and him spend some time with you guys, that's an incredible lifetime experience. And I don't think you ever forget, man. That's a really cool moment.
No, man, it was awesome. As soon as we got there, he introduced himself. He's a super friendly guy. I mean, the cool thing about Arnold is he's self-aware. He knows who he is. He was made a lot of jokes about Arnold jokes, the I'll be back things and stuff like that. We ate and drank at his house. Well, I drank some water, but he had a full-time bartender there, and he had drinks and all kinds of food for about 4 hours, cigars and stuff, and he would just sit down and talk with everybody. And towards the end of the night, we're all taking pictures up on his staircase, one of his staircases in his house, which was like an Arnold museum. But the strongmen are all up there, and there's 13 of the biggest men in the world on the staircase, They all come down, and then he's like, all right, bring the firefighters up there. And we're missing one guy. And he looks at his assistant. He's joking with him. He's like, come on, go get all the firefighters. Get them up here. We need to do this. And I'm like, holy cow, this is hilarious.
That's freaking great.
And then after 4 hours of eating and drinking at his house, he sent us all out to dinner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. One of the most generous people I think I've ever met.
So you had dinner with Brian Shaw and Martin's, the world's strongest man, and I know Martin's won. I think he's won the last 2 years.
Yeah, last 2 years. Yeah, and barely beat Brian Shaw by like 1 point.
And everyone at my gym knows that I'm a huge Martin's fan, and I love Brian Shaw and all the rest of the other competitors. But Martin's, if you haven't watched this guy, I've literally seen a 400-pound man do bar muscle-ups, ring muscle-ups. He is power snatched 400 pounds with minimal technique. And just to be in the same room, to have dinner and hang out with those guys. That guy's a pro. He's one of the I think anyone that understands weightlifting or strength training, what he does is some incredible stuff. I know he picked up Gronk, the tight end from the Patriots, and did overhead squats with him.
Yeah, that was just a few weeks ago. Yeah,
just some incredible stuff.
People don't realize how big those guys are until you stand next to them.
Just monsters. Just absolute monsters. He does split jerks, and he moves really well, and that's what I appreciate out of him. And it's one of those things I always cheering for him, because I'm like, all right, this guy focuses on, and he posts his videos and pictures of him working on flexibility and mobility, and that's just something that we pass on to our athletes all the time. Is moving well is more important than the weight that you have on the barbell at some points. So what does a week-to-week training look like for Steve? How many days do you train a week? Do you go off of a program? What do you do for your strength training in your CrossFit?
So on just a normal beginning of a training cycle, training for a meet or something, really depends on what days I'm at the firehouse. I try to do my heavy days, with somebody that I can lift with, somebody that's around with me. But I'll lift 5 to 6 days a week. Strength training, I'll try to get in a couple classes with my athletes. Awesome. 1 to 3 times a week, because you still got to do CrossFit.
100%.
Still got to be part of the community. As it comes closer to my event, I'll taper down to almost no CrossFit the week or 2 weeks before that. Warm up probably takes 20 to 30 minutes. Empty barbell stuff. Get my heart rate up. Get my blood pressure up. Mobilize the joints. That can consist of just getting on a bike or doing some burpees or something like that. Just about 2 minutes on that stuff. Some light smashing with a barbell in the quads and stuff like that.
Great. Those are
voodoo
all
flossing
awesome.
If I need it.
Perfect.
Then I'll get into some light, more barbell work with weight on it, but a little bit less. I'll do some deadlifts, shrugs, pulls, squats. I'll probably do 100 air squats before I do anything. Back squats, overhead squats, snatch balance, hip snatch, and then I'll go from there.
Wow.
I don't even pull from the floor till probably 70 kilos.
Great.
Yep.
Great. Listeners, replay that right there. That is what Steve does for his warm-up at 20, 30 minutes. So if you want your body performing at elite levels and you expect to beat other people in a fitness event, regardless if it's running, weightlifting, CrossFitting, 20, 30 minutes to getting the body prepped and ready to work out correctly, that is huge. That's a game changer. And I always tell people, I can't train you, I can't help you, I can't program for you unless you can take care of your body and get it warm properly and cool it down properly.
I think one of the things that's helped me a lot in training for weightlifting specifically is learning how to warm up with nothing. Because you go to a weightlifting hall and you have a barbell. That's it. There's no rower, there's no bike, there's no bands. Unless you bring yourself, you have a barbell and yourself.
Exactly.
And if you can't warm up with a barbell, you need to learn.
And you're using the barbell to smash your quads before you even start moving the barbell. That's great tips, great advice. There's some golden nuggets for some folks to take away from this podcast, and thanks for sharing that. So you're looking at 5-6 days of strength training, pairing that with 3 days of metabolic conditioning from CrossFit classes or CrossFit WOD. So you're looking at 8 sessions a week.
I'll usually split them up as well. I'll do CrossFit in the morning and I'll lift them later in the afternoon.
That's awesome. And one thing I wanted to ask you is about some of the sacrifices that you've made to be a affiliate owner and an athlete, because those are completely two different things. And I think some people have a tough time. I know even with myself, hey, here's my 60-minute or 90-minute window to work out, and people are still coming and asking me for fitness advice and in that moment. And we're trying to, I'm trying to prepare myself to be an athlete as well. What kind of sacrifices have you made to be an athlete?
So it's kind of tough, because one person told me a long time ago when I started as an affiliate owner, you really can't be both. You can't be dedicated to being a world-class athlete and dedicated to being a world-class affiliate owner at the same time. You have to have priorities. And, for years, it has been, making my affiliate better. And as an athlete, that suffers. Still to this day, I mean, as a firefighter, sometimes I take rest days that weren't planned. My 6 days a week drops down to 3 days a week just because other priorities come up. My son's got wrestling, daughter's got horseback riding. Those priorities come first.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want to be an elite athlete, that's going to sting.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and if you have to have a good support system too. Luckily, I have some of the best coaches in the world that work for me. My wife, she's been there with me for 20 years now. Sometimes you got to say, reel me back in. Say, Steve, it's getting a little out of control. Let's reel it back. And I listen, and she's right 100% of the time.
Yeah. So that's that work life, balance. Yeah. And you being a firefighter, a CrossFit gym owner, trainer, and then also trying to take care of your body, that balance and that time management that goes into that, and those sacrifices with family and your kids and stuff like that. People need to hear that. I think a lot of folks think it's they're going to be able to freaking clap their hands one quick time, and a genie's going to pop out of a bottle, and you're going to instantly turn into a professional athlete.
Yeah, I used to try and do it all, 3 to 4 hour training sessions, because a few years ago, we were trying to go to the games. We finished top 20 in the region when there was regionals as a team. We had some great athletes, but I was putting in 4 hours to 5 hours a day training. Now the older I get, I realize how much more recovery I need, vice more hours of training. You really need to do less, recover more, get sleep, massage, chiropractic work, fish oil, magnesium, all that stuff, sleep. You need, if you're not getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you're not training properly.
Great. Those are the nuggets, man, right there. People need to hear. A lot of folks are kind of lost on that path, and that'll definitely help them get going in the right direction. And I always tell people, with people that gain weight, lose weight, most of the time it boils down to that stress and what you're doing for sleep. And I'm not going to use any names, but I've had many of my athletes. I'm like, go get your cortisol checked. Go do that, and they come back and like, hey, Mike, it's super elevated. I'm like, all right, you got to find a way to manage that stress, and if it's physical or mental, it all adds up. And a lot of people, it's mental. What I mean? And then the physical strain that they put on their body trying to compete in whatever fitness sport that they're got themselves into, you got to find that balance.
You'll reach the point of diminishing returns real fast.
Oh yeah,
if you're not taking care of yourself.
I know incredible athletes who are out of CrossFit now because that stress just wore them, beat them down, and they got themselves into some other things just because it was less stressful. You know what I mean? And handling that, day to day, and trying to perform at those levels. I always tell people, if you're not getting paid for it, if you work, being a firefighter, being a gym owner, that's way, way more important than you winning a local CrossFit event, folks. I'm sorry to tell people that. And if your payday looks like, hey, you took second place one time and got $400, $400 doesn't even pay the gym light bill, for crying out loud. And people have a tough time understanding that. But you got a really good grasp on it, and I think it's really good for people to hear that message of all that you do. And then, trying to take care of yourself, that you can still go have fun and compete at some of these events and come in third place in the world as a firefighter in a strongman competition that you had a 3-4 week notice for, man. It's an incredible thing. And then when you talked about the sleep and what supplements you take, that'll really help out folks going forward. And then, one of the last things I wanted to ask you, being a gym owner, any advice for someone new that's looking for a fitness regimen that's obviously locally to your area, and goals in Goldsboro and New Bern, Eastern North Carolina, but this could be a global thing. What advice would you give, 1 or 2 tips for someone that's looking to get into a fitness program?
So tip number 1, get off social media. The people on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that selling supplements and programs and things like that, they're not taking that stuff. You know what I mean? For me, if I tell you to take a supplement, I'm not selling that stuff. I'm telling you to take it because you need it, not that I'm profiting off of it, So get off social media, close that stuff up. Find a knowledgeable coach that's been doing it for a while. Don't be somebody's guinea pig. There's several around here, depending on what sport you want to compete in. find that out first. What are your goals? What do you want to compete in? How far away is it? Go through the SMART system. And if you have a trainer or a coach and you're not talking about goals, find another trainer.
Yeah.
That should be your very first meeting.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm Steve. How can I help you? What are your goals? And your goal setting session should be awkward. It should be a little uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. And I've even we do goal setting with my athletes, and some of them come out of their butt hurt. You know what I mean? I'm just going to say how it is, but it's one of those things like, hey, you talk about using the SMART acronym for goal setting. Like, is it attainable? Like, you want to win the CrossFit Games, and you're at X point here. Yeah. How much, these are the sacrifices you're going to have to make to actually get to that point. Yeah. And those are some tough conversations. I know with CrossFit goals, we call it like intros, we call it assessment. Yeah. Sometimes we do nutritional consulting, we do goal setting meetings and stuff like that. We just set up 30-minute windows. You guys do a very similar thing at Burn?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it depends on what they're looking for. Like if we're doing some private sessions or some weightlifting sessions, powerlifting, nutrition, the first one starts with goals. And I think, just like you said, attainable. That R I use as realistic. If you just walking into the gym, you tell me you want to go to the CrossFit Games, first thing I'm going to say is, when? If you're looking 3 years from now, and you're squatting 400 pounds, things like that, then maybe we can do something. But other than that, you have to be realistic with yourself. And if a coach is paying you or if you're paying a coach to send you to the CrossFit Games and you haven't talked about those goals, or if it's even realistic or possible, you're just dumping money. You're flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah, and I see some, like you said, with the social media, with some fake trainers. Yeah. And fake supplements and this, that, the other, blah, blah. A lot of that's marketing techniques and stuff. And we got a guy that's doing a drop-in right now who thinks he's going to the CrossFit Games. He's too good for the whiteboard programming right now. I just had some elite athletes do the darn thing yesterday, and the guy was stuck his nose up at it. Yeah. He was doing like 15-pound dumbbell push presses. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but, this guy was literally doing that's where he's at in his fitness regimen right now. And he told me he's got his own trainer, this, that, the other, following that program so he can hopefully make it to the CrossFit Games.
So one thing about, taking classes, I think everybody should take classes. You're going to learn something. But if you leave a CrossFit class and you feel like it wasn't enough, it's your fault.
100%.
You didn't work hard enough.
Yeah, 100%. I always like, you didn't empty the tank there. Yeah. If it was, we talked about one we did 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Why didn't you make it a 35? You had a 17-minute window. Why didn't you freaking bust your butt and keep going farther if you're looking for more? And I always think that's great. And I've seen a lot of stuff out there lately talking about whiteboard workouts and just, GPP programming. Like, I don't know too many people who are that are better or too good for what's on that whiteboard. And if you have a specific goal besides the GPP, then, hey, maybe you knock that out. And then if you're an endurance runner, my guys go get on the air runner for 2-3 miles, maybe even longer. You know what I mean, kind of thing. Or they separate those trainings, just like you talked about with you do a 60 to 90-minute strength training, and then you do the class CrossFit class Medcon. I do the very similar thing. You know what I mean? And instead of that, hey, that person's doing a little bit of Spartan training or doing a little bit of powerlifting training on the side. So I think that is some incredible advice for folks.
Yeah, that stuff should be a supplement to CrossFit.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned is don't be someone's guinea pig.
Yeah.
Looking for coaches with experience. Mm-hmm. I tell that to people all the time, like, hey, that CrossFit gym just opened. Yeah. This person's they're in year one. Yeah. You're going to probably be some 25 people are going to be this person's first experiment. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if I'm looking for a gym in the Craven County, the freaking New Bern area, it's CrossFit Burn all day. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's that journey for you and Nick started freaking well over a decade ago.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I got really lucky. I hired the coaches that were training me. Yeah. And they're still with Oscar. Oscar has been with me for the whole time, and before that, he was one of my first coaches at Cherry Point.
That's great.
So really lucky.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for a brief second. You're the youngest on your staff, right? Or you were like a year ago?
I was. Yeah, I was the youngest.
I think like Kristen and you got a couple other people that are younger.
But I've gotten some people since then, but
you're the youngest one on your staff. shoot, we'll give those people some shout-outs, man. I love those folks. My coaches look up to your coaches, and I think a lot of people in this region do as well. But, you're talking about Miss Annette. She's 60 years old.
60 years old, yep. Hopefully this year, she already broke the record, but unofficially for world record snatch and clean and jerk in total. Yeah. Hopefully we get to see her do it again officially.
Absolutely.
See, we got Tony. Tony's been with me for a couple years now. Funny thing about Tony, we met him and his wife. We set up a table right outside of a bridge run in New Bern, and they've been with us ever since. They signed up. Curtis, he signed up a few years ago. Came from another gym. Decided he wanted to be a coach. When he PCS'd here, now he's retired. Still coaching. Him and Tony usually do the majority of the 0530 classes. Wow. Andrea, she coaches 0530. She does our newsletter, all of our communications with athletes. She calls back all of our members and sends emails and stuff when they do free trials, talks to them and all. We see the morning class. Rudy does that. Rudy's been with me for a few years now. Funny thing about Rudy, when he first came to the gym, he did a drop-in, and then it was almost a year before he signed up again.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like, this is crazy.
I had a very similar situation with Coach Scout. People don't realize I had to beg her for a year to do CrossFit with us. You know what I mean? Look at her now. She's absolutely, probably one of the best trainers I know, kind of thing.
Yeah, we got Steven. Steven's been with us for a couple years now. He's doing great. He just got promoted to Gunnery Sergeant of the Marine Corps. He's getting ready to PCS to California.
Okay.
Let me see. We got Nick and Oscar. They've been with us forever. Nick's one of my best friends. We've been together for almost 14 years now.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, he does Reclaim Glory flags. Make sure y'all check that out. He does amazing stuff. I mean, several of the flags and stuff are hanging up in your gym and in your restaurant.
Absolutely.
Kristen's been with me for a few years now. Took me 2-3 years to get her to convince her to do strongman. Now last year she finished 12th in the world. World's strongest woman.
That's great.
Annette, again, been with me for several years. She used to train at the Y. Then she came over to the gym, been with me ever since. Been with me, almost 6 years now. Let me see, who else did I miss? Brian's been with me for several years. Got a weightlifting seminar coming up with Brian next week. Snatch and clean and jerk. If you haven't taken that class, Brian's full of a ton of information. He's one of the loudest people on earth. So
February 2nd.
Yeah, February 1st, February 2nd, something like that. Yeah.
Next weekend.
Yes, next weekend.
Yeah, I'll get this podcast out today, so that way anyone that's in the Eastern North Carolina area that's looking for Olympic weightlifting advice or tips next weekend at CrossFit Burn, Coach Brian. Yeah, definitely check that out.
We got a 800-gram challenge starting next month, which is great. This is our third time doing it, and we haven't seen anybody yet not make drastic changes. It's a great program. Doesn't limit any food. Actually makes you eat more vegetables. It's a great program.
Cool.
Powerlifting. We have powerlifting club. We have a weightlifting club. The Oli part starts in February.
Okay.
So that'll be an addition, and we're working on a running program, which will be hopefully coming out next month. A gymnastics seminar. There's a lot going on, man.
Yeah. Good stuff, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, we've been at it for over 30 minutes, man, so we'll wrap this up. I just want to tell you, I speak for a lot of people on this one, man. We're proud of you, Steve.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
It's an honor to coach you and call you your friend, and thank you for spending some time with us. We know you're extremely busy. For you and me, able to get together on a Friday, man, with our busy schedules. Like, we just got done walking through a restaurant rebuild. Yeah. We got a construction crew right next to us putting up walls and stuff like that. So proud of you, man. I'm glad you got a chance to be on here. You're definitely not someone that's going to go out there and toot your own horn on social media, man. So I'm glad I got a chance to do this for you. And nothing but love, man.
I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.